And that process exposes the weak areas in a relationship, but it also can refine the relationship.
Yeah, and most of us, and most couples don't, we don't intentionally become adversarial with each other, right? We don't mean to do it, but over time, it just suddenly happens, right? You don't talk about that thing because you're having a good day, so you let it go, and then the resentment starts to build. So we don't intentionally do these things, right? It just suddenly happens over a period of time. So, so here's how it may look. Now I'm going to read through this short list, and be honest with yourselves. I want you to take a mental note. If these things that you do, not the person to your right or left, you, okay? So here they are. Can everybody hear me good?
Yep.
All right. So keeping score. Try to win an argument. Okay? Assuming motives. Competing over who does more. Withdrawing emotionally. Trying to change or control each other. Expecting mind reading.
That's definitely me.
Okay? Talking instead of listening. That'd be me. Expecting, making decisions independently. Okay? Forgetting the relationship while managing the responsibilities. Being task-oriented, domestic duties, right? Just kind of handling stuff off. Using sarcasm, tone, and silence as weapons.
Oh, that's me.
Seeing your spouse as the problem instead of seeing the problem as the problem.
Oh, that's good.
Do you see a problem there?
He's not the problem?
Allowing outside stress, right? Like kids, work, family, to divide instead of uniting you. So operating in what we call operating in like the survival mode instead of we problem solving mode. We mode. We partnership mode. Not you, not I, but we. If you put a mental check mark next to some of these, you're not alone. Lisa is still working through hers, and it likely will continue for some time. And as I add more to the list. So the moment a couple starts fighting with each other, then fighting for one another, that's when the disconnection begins. Right? And it happens subtly. Right? Distance subtly creeps in and separates you. And when that happens, you make room for the devil to come in. You make room for all the worldly things to slide on in. And it's so subtle. So you have to be careful for that.
So we found over the years that disconnect comes from fear versus faith. So we're going to start talking about the fear-based or the stuck mindset. So fear versus faith. This is what some of those patterns may look like. Fear being unheard. So I know in our relationship, since I'm still working on things, right? When I sometimes talk to my husband, he's always hearing me, but it doesn't mean he always is listening to what I'm saying. So that makes it hard for me to want to come to him sometimes because I know I'm going to feel unheard. So that can be a fear of mine that I bring into our relationship. Fear of being unsupported. So growing up as a child, I often heard, well, you shouldn't feel that way. Or you're being silly. How you're feeling is silly. So as I've grown into a woman, now I carry that with me from my past, and sometimes that brings fear into my marriage with my husband because I'm afraid of looking bad or looking silly or looking like I don't have the answer for him. Fear of vulnerability. This is probably a good one for men, but it's for women too. If he knew this about me, would he still be accepting and loving of me in our marriage? And sometimes that still happens, even 30 years later. You can still feel fear of being vulnerable with your spouse when that disconnect comes. So in Romans 12, verse 2, it says, "Do not be conformed by this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." So now Paul wrote this, and he was writing this to the Christians who were living in Rome, and they were going through pressure, they were having status problems, they were worshiping idols, there was political power, moral compromise, but it still holds true for a relationship as well. Not just a relationship between your spouse, but your kids, at work. So keep this in mind because we are talking about marriage. So how does this tie into marriage? So marriage doesn't truly change until the way we think changes. Many couples try to fix their external problems through communication, finance, intimacy, trying to get their schedules right, but continuing to operate from the same fearful pattern internally is what you need to change. So when you can start working on the internal part, that's when things will move forward. But when you're focusing on that mindset where you're in that same cycle, it's going to repeat itself over and over, and then you're like a hamster on the wheel. You're just getting on that same wheel, and you're going through the same things because you're trying to fix the external things instead of working on the internal.
And Lisa talks about fear. Earlier in our marriage, I know that my wife is very sensitive. I come from the clan, my family, like we throw throat blows at you verbally, right? That's kind of how I was raised. And when she came around and we started doing that, I know that she's very sensitive. She wasn't raised like that. So just now you witness is our evolution of I can kid around with my wife and we can kid around about some serious things and I can get her to joke about it, right? But I'm not going for throat blows, right? And she can laugh at it. And to me, that enhances our relationship because she knows I love her, I care for her, but we can also be silly, we can also kid around, we can also do those things. But before I used to be fearful of that, right? And then now we can talk about it, right? And we have faith that I just know that she loves me. I know unconditionally, you know? So Elisa said the mindset stays the same and the cycle usually repeats itself. You managing
I'm
me?
sorry, no, I'm not trying to manage you. I just saw you looking over the
By the way, that's later in this, by the way. You just saw evidence.
I'm his helper.
All right.
It's the rib, right there.
Help me, right?
See the
Help
rib?
me. No. Help you. Transformation starts internally, not externally. Right? See, if you look at the world, they say, hey, if you want to be better, go get some work done. Right? It's really outwardly. It's everything outwardly. Look at the car I drive, look what I do, look what I do, look what I do. But really the change begins on the inside, right? It begins inside. Our thoughts, our belief, our fears, reactions, expectations, and perspectives. And when our internal, I use this in my work, right? When we have this internal environment in here, and a lot of us were raised with all this stuff in here that we don't even know that got put in there, right? From our parents, what we saw, what we hear, what we experienced. We didn't have a clue, and we didn't have a say in it at all, right? Then we take this package, we go out into the world, and we try to navigate the world. And then we try to figure out, wow, this is not working. How do I do this, right? So I call that your internal, right? The internal environment, trying to handle external stimuli, right? Then we come to Christ, and then we learn, and we figure out, wow, there is a pattern, there's a message here that helps me to navigate the world, right? I can actually respond differently. So I can take my internal environment, right? I can get to know myself, do the work within here, so I behave externally, right? Externally with the world in a better way.
And fear keeps couples reactive. Fear often causes defensiveness, blame, withdrawal, control, frustration, or emotional shutdown. Instead of responding with wisdom and unity, couples react from hurt, insecurity, pride, and sometimes just flat out survival mode. And we were in that for a long time. Fear narrows your focus, and it focuses it on self-preservation and protection.
Absolutely. Faith helps couples renew how they think and respond. Faith allows couples to pause, right, before you get angry, right? Faith allows you to bring in God in those really tough times, right? And trust God will help you work through things.
Amen.
Before that, we were just working through things. Before that, it was like, my way, your way. I don't like this. I don't like, but when we invite God in, then we tend to soften up a little bit, right? And that's the idea. What do we do? What does he say, right? He comes inside, right? And we communicate differently, right? We extend grace. We move forward with each other instead of away from each other, right? It shifts from the focus from how do I protect myself or I blame you to how do we grow together, right? And for me, when I'm talking at this is how do we connect? Because the world, I talk about all the time, the world, like, I go to work, she goes to work, we spend 8-10 hours with completely different people all day long, and we have a short period of time to reconnect. We constantly have to come back and reconnect. We have to repair, constantly, little things, right? And so, okay, your turn.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry, I just dropped off the bridge.
Renewing the mind creates healthier responses. When couples intentionally change how they think, they begin changing how they speak, how they handle conflict, how they support one another, and make decisions together. The goal is not perfection. It's progression. I got that. I'm learning that. It's progression towards unity. So how does this look? Not perfection, progression, and coming together. So when we went through the burglary, for those of you who don't know, we had a burglar in our home. We awoke to a person at the foot of our bed, and he attacked us, and we were hurt really bad. And it took us 10 years to recover from that. And thankfully we did, but we were in the fight of our lives all through that 7 to 10 years. And we were not the same people. And when we went through that, I wanted my husband. I wanted the person that we worked damn hard to be together for seven years prior to that. We had turned our lives around. We were on a great path. We were following the Lord. Things were going great. And then after that event, I didn't know who that person was anymore. I sure didn't like him because he wasn't giving me what I wanted and what I was used to in our marriage. And I went to some trusted people that mentored me, some godly women, some strong women. And I told them what was going on, and they let me know, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to try. And divorce is not in that anywhere. This is what a godly woman needs to do. And I started doing those things. And it was hard. It was not easy to pray for someone who was not mean to you, just wasn't there. It was like you didn't exist. And it wasn't like he was being mean to me. That was just how he was trying to deal with what he was going through. But that's how it was affecting me. And so I had to be able to pour into that. I had to be able to take my selfishness out of it and treat him as if he were Jesus. How would I treat that man if that was Jesus? Would I give him the cold shoulder? Would I be expecting him to give him? No, I would be washing his feet, and I would be serving him, and I would be loving on him regardless. And once I started doing that, things started changing in our relationship, not because of how he was treating me, but because of how I was treating him.
That's good.
That's you.
I know. Give me a minute. So, taking ownership, right? So, the faith, action mindset. Working healthy couples, they stop focusing on who's to blame, right? Your fault, my fault. They stop doing that. And they start asking, what is my part in this? And both individuals take responsibility. But here's for their attitude. They both do. But here's the thing. If Lisa doesn't, at that time, I still have to. Right? I gotta allow her space, her timing, her tempo. It doesn't mean I come to you and I'm like, hey, hon, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we're going through this. I'm sorry my part there. Yeah, and I go, aren't you gonna say sorry too for yours? Huh?
I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. That's it. I'm expecting it, right? And so I have to own my part and allow her space, her time, if she does or not. And I'll tell you, man, the 3 things. I'll just give a little breadcrumbs. Sorry, it just came to my head, so I gotta say it. The 3 things that at least every time we used to get in an argument, I was like, honey, I'm sorry. It's my fault. Let's go out and eat. Okay.
And it worked every time.
So also you have to take responsibility for how you communicate, right? The effort, healing, and your own growth. See, we forget sometimes that as individuals that we have to work our own growth, right? Our mental, physical, emotional, spiritual growth. And that brings a better me to our relationship. If I don't do that and I'm expecting her to do it and I'm looking at it's unfair, then it's not a partnership, right? So ownership is not about carrying the shame or carrying the guilt. It's about creating progress, creating a platform so you guys can move forward on easier. Has to start with me.
So another faith-based pattern that we see is mutual support. Marriage was never designed for one person to carry the full emotional, spiritual, financial, relationship weight all alone. Strong couples learn how to encourage, how to strengthen, how to support one another through difficult times or difficult seasons in life. Sometimes one person is stronger than the other. While the other needs lifting, later those roles may reverse. So roles reverse all the time in our marriage. I know when we first got together, Mike was vibrating in a chair. He could barely sit still. You know, it's still hard for him to sit still. I'm surprised that the last 3 weeks he's been able to put his leg up on the couch and do absolutely nothing. For me, it's been actually pretty nice having him around. It's been kind of nice having him around. But like when we first started our relationship, I did all the budget. I did all the money. I did all the budgeting. I marked everything down. We did the whole envelope system. This is the cash we have to save. This is what we have to spend. And if we don't have it, sorry, we're not doing it. But over the years, now Mike does it. Now Mike does all the budgeting. He pays all the bills and does all of that, which means I'm putting a lot of faith in that, right? Instead of the fear, putting a lot of faith in it instead of the fear. But over that time, it's helped me trust more.
Thanks.
It helps me trust Him more. It helps me grow in my own walk with the Lord, being able to give up that control, right? It's not about control. I got lots of it, but it's not about control.
You ain't Janet Jackson.
That's right.
Okay. So, and going back to that, it focuses on what we can control, right? Or I like to say manage, because really we don't have any control, right? We don't have any control of what's going on. We don't have any control. Thank you for managing me. And so, but it's managing, right? So working healthy marriages, stop wasting energy trying to control personality or manage my personality, like to say, right? Or emotions, or reactions, right? Or outcomes, men, right? Trying to manage the outcomes. A lot of times I won't bring things, earlier on, I wouldn't bring things to Lisa because I expected a different emotion would happen from her, a reaction would happen from her. So I wouldn't bring it to her. Or we're having a good night, and it's probably not a good time to bring things up.
Yeah, like money right before you go to bed, right?
I know, but Yes. So I stopped that, right? But we talked about that, right? So, but I wouldn't bring things up. And what I had to learn is that I can't manage her emotions for her and her feelings. She has to be able to do that. I have to be able to just bring it in a way that's not confrontational, not conflict, right? Not personal, right? And not hurting her. And her with me as well. So we had to learn that stuff. And men, you know, we kind of have this fix-it gene, right? We want to see the outcome the way that we want to see the outcome. So you guys each can do some work on that. So instead, we got to focus on what we can control, right? What we can manage. I can manage my response. I can definitely work on my tone, as I'm told. Consistency, communication, effort. And here's the thing is I can manage my faith, right? And I got to give Lisa praise on this one because my faith, how I feel, how I pray, how I believe, and my relationship is super private to me. Super, right? And she allows me to have that part. And willingness to grow and connect, right? So peace often comes from when couples stop trying to manage each other and start managing themselves well. I gotta tell this story. So it was a long time ago, right? We started getting married, and Lisa and I, we would do a bunch of things. She goes, hey, you know, why do you do it that way? And I'm like, because that's the way I like to do it. Whatever it is I'm doing. And she goes, yeah, but you know, you can do it this way. And I said, okay. And then she goes, aren't you going to do it that way? I go, no, I'm going to do it this way. She goes, yeah, but you can do it this way. I go, can you stop managing me? She goes, I'm not managing you. That's exactly what managing is. If I had a boss, they would tell me to do it exactly the way they want me to do it. And she...
What do you mean I'm not the boss?
Right?
Right?
And for the longest time, she didn't like that word. You're managing me. I'm not managing you. Yo, okay. So, but now I think we're a little better. Are we
After
better?
30 years. It only took 30 years.
Okay, you're up.
Progression, even when it's hard, unfair, or messy. Growth rarely happens in perfect conditions. Healthy couples continue moving forward when emotions are high, circumstances are difficult, or life feels unfair. They understand that strong marriages are built through difficult seasons, not the absence of them. Progress matters more than perfection. And man, that was tough for me. I grew up in a perfectionistic home. I was expected to have my room perfect, to behave perfect, to get perfect grades. And so when I met Mike, my idea of marriage was that my prince is going to come and he's going to sweep me off my feet and we're going to ride off on a white horse to a big castle. And now that we're married, everything in life is going to be great because we're married and I'm with the man of my dreams. But that's what life leading up to that moment, that's what it was set up for me to believe as a little girl growing up, at least in my household. And I had to learn that that's not how it is in life. You know, I had to learn to accept that. And that's something we'll talk about here in a minute. But it doesn't have to be perfect. And it seems like the messier things are, the more powerful our relationship is. And as long as faith is there. When I'm walking in faith, man, we can overcome anything, and we continue to. We continue to be challenged. Somebody was asking me, man, you guys are going through it again. Going through it again. Like, I don't think we've ever not stopped going through it. I think that we just continue, the devil continues to try to throw his beating on us, and we just refuse. We just refuse, and I continue to reach out to the ladies. Please pray for us. Please have our backs. I continue to pray over my husband or my parents or whatever's going on. Because I know when he puts this gift in our heart to share with people, it's not about us. It's about him. And he will find a way to make that happen.
Yeah. All right. All right, so playing the strengths. Next one. Working healthy couples stop resenting their differences and start leveraging them. So one spouse may be stronger emotionally. That's definitely her. She's 7 years younger than me, and she's still more mature than me. And another financially organized, somebody better organizer. Another's better at planning, right? Communication, okay, maybe. Caregiving, leadership, or problem solving. A strong marriage recognizes different strengths as assets instead of weaknesses. And earlier on, I didn't see it like that, right? You know how Lisa talks about knight in shining armor, right? Come, sweep her away. Well, when I met her, I was like $140, right? I wasn't sweeping. I was looked like Skeletor. I was hooked on everything. I wasn't sweeping anybody up, right? And so.
Sweeping things off the floor, hoping there was something.
Pretty much. And so her bubble, that was delusion what she had. And then she hooked up with me, the total opposite. Okay? And for me and for her, right, is recognizes the differences. I tried so hard, and I didn't even know I was doing it. I wanted her to have the same pace, same tempo, same kind of chaotic energy that I had, which is ADHD, right? I wanted her to have that. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's do this. Come on, let's do that. Come on. She's like, right? And I wanted this couple, right, that I saw. And I didn't even know I was creating this in my mind for her, my expectations, right? And when we had strife, when we had problems, and we were fighting, it's because of my unbalanced expectations of us as couples, right? And I had to really work through that, right? And so I had to really sit down and accept her strengths as her human, hers by itself, not what I wanted her to be, so to speak. And she allows me to be me. She's like, woo, go, see you later. You want to chase cars, go chase cars. We'll get you back,
Good boy.
Yeah. Where's Mike? I don't know, he's doing something. Go ahead.
Moving forward together, even imperfectly. Strong marriages are not built by flawless people. They are built by people willing to grow, willing to communicate, forgive, adjusting, and rebuilding. Couples do not have to have everything figured out to move forward. They just need to remain connected while doing it. I'm so far from being perfect. There's only one perfect person I know, and I'm definitely not Jesus Christ. But I have learned to accept that I'm not perfect, and I'm good with that today. Because as long as I'm being obedient and following what I believe God wants me to do, then everything's going to work out. And everything will work out in our marriage too. As long as we do the work, not just going to magically appear. Come on, look.
All right. Here we go. Trusting instead of controlling. Here we are again, controlling, right? Trusting. God, you're going to trust that we're going to land on time. All right. So control is often rooted in fear, right? When we try to make something happen, have the result come out the way we want it, it's because we're fearful, right? We're fearful, we're insecure. We're trying to self-preservation, self-protect, right? And trust creates space for connection, growth, communication, and partnership. Working, helping couples learn to release the need to micromanage. God, pray for her. Each other, and instead build safely through honesty, consistency, teamwork, faith. The goal is not control, the goal is connection. The goal is unity. Right? If I'm trying to control, it's one. It's one. But if her and I come together, it's unity, it's connection. Right? Much more powerful. For each will have to bear his own load. Galatians chapter 6, verse 5. Here's the tie-in. You are responsible for your part. I'm responsible for my part. My part is my faith. I'm responsible for my faith. She's not. I am. Right? not your spouse's. I'm not responsible for her reactions, her choices, or her growth. There's a lot of times in our life, like we're growing, and we have this, like you're on this elevator, and I'm like, let's go, right? And 10th floor, and we're rocking, and she's like, nope, I'm off at the second. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, you can go to 10th. I'm like, but I can't go to 10th. You're not going with me. She goes, you can go to 10th. And I'm like, you sure? Yep. And I rock on. There I go again. And I come back, and she's still there. And there's times that she's growing. And she's like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. And I'm like, okay, go, girl, go. You're going to come? I go, no, it's Sunday football. You know, or watch this. And I can't be responsible. We have to, but I love her. We're together on it. And sometimes we grow uneven. But long as we're moving, right? That's the most important thing.
And faith requires personal responsibility. So, right before this in Galatians, Paul was also saying that how important it is to carry each other's burdens, right? But then the next verse after that is, for each of us will have to bear his own load. And to me, what that means is I have to take care of myself in order for me to give to other people. I have to be responsible for my own prayer time. I have to be responsible for studying the Word. I have to be responsible for having that self-reflection. And I can't do it all the time with my spouse. It's a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Then I can come and be with other followers. Then I can come and walk beside my spouse. But it all starts with that personal relationship. And I believe that this is how it ties into the marriage, that you got to be responsible for your part. If you're responsible for your part and you're responsible for your part, then when you come together, man, pow, magic happens. Then you get to help other couples, help other people.
Amen.
Hopefully.
Twin powers activate. Okay. So, strong marriages are built by two people carrying responsibility together. Their own and as a couple. Super important.
So how do we move forward in faith? How do you move forward? So faith comes with the shift through awareness, acceptance, and action. So quickly talk about awareness. What is actually going on? When you have something going on, what is actually going on in that moment? This is how I see it. Imagine yourself in a room. It's a room you've never been in before. And you have a blindfold on. And you have to get to the exit door. It's full of furniture and everything, and you're walking through it, and you're bumping into things, and you're hitting your shin, and you're tripping, and you're falling, and you're standing up, and you're trying to feel your way. It would be so much easier if you can just take the blindfold off and see where you're going and walk towards that direction. And that's what awareness is all about. You have to be aware of what is actually going on so that you can start processing through it.
And what am I feeling, thinking, or believing? You know, prior when I don't know how to say it, but just being out there, right? Being out there prior to walking a faithful life, and is what I was feeling was anything that changed the way I felt and it was good, I would do. It was all about, I may not be much, but I'm all I thought about. All the time, right? And that was it. What I was thinking, it was about me. And so, and what I believed, I'm like, if it's is to be, it's up to me. That's how I live my life. And that had to change once I started becoming a believer. Once I was saved, once I started on this road, I had to change that thought, right? I had to be able to identify what I was feeling. I had to be able to organize my emotions and my thoughts, and I had to be able to verbalize those things, right? In order to understand where I was going, what I needed, so people can help guide me, right? When I came in, and people can help, and I can tell her, honey, you know, I'm not feeling very good right now, right? I don't like the distance between us, right? I'm sorry, it's my fault. Can we go out to eat? So, and then,
And what are we dealing with right now? Ladies, this is a good one for us. I know you felt this way when you're in an argument and something that happened 25 years ago will come up, it'll pop up in your conversation. Well, you remember when you, and you're like, are you ever going to let that go? Nope. Bringing it into this one too. You got think about, what are you dealing with right now? Is it an argument? Is it stress? Is it lack of finances? Is it unbelief? Is it that you're not confident in yourself? That's what you need to be working on. Try not to let it trickle and spill into the other areas of your life. Try to recognize it for what it is and focus on that one thing.
Where are we out of sync? Right? Where are we out of sync? Because usually what we find is that what we think is the problem is just a symptom. Right? It's a symptom. Like if I have you realize you're sick is when you get a fever. You're like, oh, I got a little cold. Especially guys, right? They're like, oh, we'll just brush it off, put a little dirt on it, we're good. And then we have a fever, and we're like, oh, maybe we better go take care of this, right? So when her and I get into it, when something should happen and we argue or life, usually the tipping point is not the problem. It's just giving us a cue that something deeper may be going on, right? So where are we out of sync? If I'm quick talking to her one day because life's busy, and I say, hey, I got to do it, and it's miscommunication, and then she gets hurt from it, but she didn't say anything to me about it, right? And then now we're out of sync. Now we lose a whole day for miscommunication. I'm quick, she doesn't want to talk about it, and then we're off. Okay? So where are we out of sync? And remember, fear versus faith. Fear focuses on protecting ourselves.
And faith focuses on connection and growth.
Right? And so the next one is acceptance. Acceptance. It's the hardest thing, and it's a phase. Acceptance, accept reality without agreeing with it. You don't have to like where you're at, but accepting it gives you a starting point to move forward. When we had that burglary, that's a big event, right? Usually everyone gathers up their strengths and their resources to something big, but something small, right? We're on our way, tight schedule, flat tire, right? Two things I can do. I can get out and I don't do this anymore. But I get out, I start kicking the car like it's its fault, right? The tire, right? And then anxiety. We're gonna be late. What are people gonna think, right? And then now that tire just got to smoldering, right? Or we can accept it. The fact is, it's out of our control. The tire happened, right? Why are we at odds? At an example, right? Why don't we let's calm our heads. We're not going to make it. It's not a big deal. We're alive. Let's start working through it. Those are the little things in life, the practical little things that jump up and can spark it, right? So acceptance is a real big deal. And it's hard to get to the reality of acceptance because it's the way she'd like it done, the way I would like it done, and then there's actually what's really happening.
Accept that your spouse is different, not wrong. It doesn't have to be my way. I see you all looking at each other. It's so funny. It's so good to know that it's not just us. Thank you for participating.
Even though you don't know you're participating.
Just because it's not my way doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just different. And accepting this about my spouse has helped me realize that this opens up a whole new chapter for me. I get to see things in a whole new way. I get to see things in a light that sometimes he'll bring things up and I'm like, never really thought about that way. That actually might be a little better. I'm not going to admit it, but he might actually have something there.
Dropping dimes. That's what I'm doing.
But when I learned that it's just different and it's not wrong, that's been huge for me to not feel so on him and nagging. That's not the kind of wife I want to be, but sometimes that is the wife I am. And that helps bring perspective into it for me to quit it.
And stop trying to recreate or project your expectations on each other. right? That's a tough one, right? And because there's only one person, right, that we're already created in God's image, right? It's our own humanness to accept that, to accept my wife how she is, right? And she has changed from when she was in her 20s to her 30s, and then we won't talk about any more than that, and beyond, right? And she has with me. And 2 years from now, we'll be different people again, right? When we realize that, almost 2 decades ago, when I realized that, it helped me, because forever is a long time. So I was like, okay, so if I'm going to be present in my marriage and be consistent, I'm going to take the 2-year approach. You know, people are like, what's a 2-year approach? It's like every 2 years, I'm going to go out, put flags on our front lawn, and say, I want to marry you for 2 more years, right? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to politic. And it kept me in a short mindset to realize that every 2 years, I got to reassess and see where I'm at. Make sure I'm connected to her, and I'm pursuing her, and letting her know I still want to be in her life, right? And I still want to be that senator in the home, right? That governor, that president, that chief. Sorry, got carried away.
I'm voting for him.
I got carried away. Yeah,
Got
vote for me, right? Yeah, you're up, babe.
No, we're right here.
Thank you. Remember, fear versus faith. Thank you for managing me there. Remember, fear versus faith. Fear resists reality.
And faith faces reality and moves you forward together.
And my favorite one.
Action. We're on the last one. Action is where the magic really happens. How do we take action? Small, intentional, repeated steps. For me, that means daily devotional, self-talk, catching myself in the moment when I'm doing something or saying something or acting a way I'm not supposed to.
Doing something different, even if it's uncomfortable. And if you're doing it different, it will be uncomfortable. Just know that, right? That's the idea. If my wife, if Lisa says something to me, hey, I don't like that, or hey, you're kind of, you kind of weren't present, in this conversation. I can dismiss that. I go like, whatever, you do this, I'm tired, whatever. Or I can pay attention to it, right? I can do something different. It's uncomfortable, right? And so I have to pay attention to that. Action. I think anytime you're stuck, action is the key. Any action is better than no action at all, right?
Clear communication of your needs. Not expecting him to know what it is you want, what it is you're thinking, what it is you want for Valentine's Day or your birthday. I had to learn that I just need to tell him what I need and what I want. I still want that.
Well.
I still want him to be able to just know. Because in my fairy tale life, that prince always knew what the princess wanted. He was always there giving her exactly, but I had to let go because that is not reality. And if I just tell him what I need, what I want, he has no problem giving it to me. But if I'm expecting him to do that, he has no idea what I'm at. I'm like over there stewing. God, I'm so mad that he can't think of this himself. Why do I have to tell him all the time? And he's over there, man, this this game is fantastic. I'm enjoying every minute of it. He has no idea what's going on in my brain. And I'm just stewing and making it worse. And if I just open my mouth, he will provide. So it's not wrong, it's different.
And here's what we learn about that being completely different is that just generally, because we're different genders, right? She was like, I want you to think of me the way that I think of you. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Right? And so, but when we put a list together, if I sit there and I ask you, right, how do you think about your wife? You would put a list together. You know how, and my list is this. I think about her all the time, every day, right? I want to protect her. I want to provide for her, right? I want to make sure that if something happens to me, that she's taken care of, right? I want to make sure that no one harms her. I want to make sure that she's loved, that she's cared for, that she feels that I appreciate her, right? That's, and more, I can run that list down more and more and more and more. That's different. You ask her how she thinks of me, and it's completely different. Not wrong, it's just different, right? Step into roles based on your strengths, right? Lisa is a fantastic organizer, right? And as long as she leaves me one drawer in the kitchen that she doesn't organize, I don't care what she does with the other drawers. I don't. We've had that conversation, right? She's a great organizer. She's very in tune with people, very empathetic, right? And if she messes around, and she knows that if she messes around one time and says, hey, Mike, you know, I think I want to go do that. And then we just talking, and she's gone. Like, I got a plan. We're doing it. She's like, no, we were just talking about it, right? So
I found the best deal. I went online. I got this. We've got our equipment. We're ready to go.
let's roll.
We're up at 6 o'clock tomorrow. Let's go.
Yeah, wheels up.
Support each other intentionally. It's not always, I don't always like his ideas. I don't always agree with the decisions he makes, but I support him. I value him, and I'm going to support him intentionally, because that's what I'm called to do. Doesn't mean I have to enjoy it all the time, but I do respectfully put myself in that road to be intentional about that.
And we build consistency over perfection, right? When on talking on that is that we unconditionally love each other. She knows that I wouldn't make a decision that will put us at harm, and I know that she wouldn't either. I know it, right? So there's a trust and there's love there, right? So be doers of the word and not hearers only. James 1:22. Knowing. Just, here's the thing, is we talk about knowing isn't enough. Okay? So I have I work in counseling, right? And I get this question a lot of times from people. And they ask me, how come you don't market yourself as a Christian counselor? Right? They ask me that. Why don't you market yourself as a Christian counselor? And my answer is this. Because if I did, non-Christians wouldn't come see me. And so, since my faith is very private to me, right? And share it, when people come see me and I get to behave in a way, right? And I get to show them and verbally care for them as a Christian should. And then if they open up and they lead to, and I can name 4 people I've worked with over years that have came to, right? Because they got the stuff worked out in their life, and they're comfortable to open up and talk about Christ, talk about their spirituality now. They're comfortable doing it, right? They have a therapeutic relationship, and that is huge. So I'm about doing, not showing. That make sense?
Yes.
So knowing isn't enough. What are you doing? Some people are great. They verbally do it. They go out and they talk, and that's their stuff, right? Mine is not that. Knowing's not enough. We have to be able to somehow share God, somehow share the Bible, share the love of Christ. In whatever manner, you got to find it is for you and go do it. Sometimes it's food. People, they cook, and you can feel it. You can feel it in the meal, right? You made this with God's hand. I was like, this is good. So,
Faith requires movement. So movement to me looks like how I speak to people or speak to my spouse, how I treat others, how I handle suffering. That's a big one. How do I handle suffering when I'm in pain, when I'm hurting? Am I only showing God's love when things are going good? How about when things are not going good? How am I showing up? How do I use my money? How do I live with integrity?
And working healthy marriages are built through intentional action, not disconnection, not detachment. Intentional, right? You weren't designed to do marriage alone. Even inside your marriage, right? You want to build bridges in your marriage. You don't want to build the pieces of cages that keep you locked out of your marriage. You don't want to have silos within your marriage. That's why the connection is always so important. Because if you're constantly connecting, you can't build the walls between you two.
So to reinforce this as we get ready to close out, I want you to just take a moment and to think about your vows. For those of you who are married, for those of you who are thinking about getting married, think about your wedding vows, that moment that you stood face to face, to have and to hold, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, till death do you part. Are you following through on those vows? Even when things are going tough? Even when you're in the hell of it? Because the devil's gonna come and get you. He's gonna try to break you up. He does not want to see happy marriages. He wants to see everybody out there on TV. You don't like each other? You can just get a divorce. Be with somebody else.
He's not making you happy. She's not making you happy. Poof.
It's a rarity to see couples that stay together for long periods of time. And the attendance in this room shows that.
It's true.
It shows that we are desperate to talk to couples who want to follow Christ. So thank you for being here.
Amen.
Being committed means doing the right thing whether you feel like it or not. God has never given up on his commitment to Mike and I, and therefore we will never give up on our commitment to each other, because that is what he has called us to do. So remember, you're not powerless.
Yep, and you're not stuck.
And you're not waiting.
You're not meant to carry everything alone in your marriage.
And you're not meant to be identical.
And can you imagine if we were? Can you imagine having blonde hair, right?
Can you imagine me bald?
Right? And you are meant to be unified. You're meant to be connected. You're meant to fight you against the world. Because that's what it takes. Because the world's telling you, it's not okay to be together. It's not okay to be in love. It's not. All these little knots, you got to fight that, right? And her and I, that's kind of what we do. That's what we want to tell people, right? We want to help individuals and couples. So in closing, fear focuses on what could fall apart. Faith focuses on what God can build. When two people choose unity, trust, and perseverance together. We want to thank Lucy.